Welcome back, baseball fans, to the 1971-74 carryover league. Hot stove talks. Trades are heating up, and we had three trades heat up in the hot stove league. Interesting. We had a single player for player trade. We had a double player for player trade and a triple player for player trade. Obviously, the more complicated the trade gets, you got to make sure the years balance out. Doesn't matter which years, but the same years need to go back and forth between teams. So let's just get started with the first single player trade. So the team doing the talking was Kansas City, and Kansas City, they're going to add George Brett to this team finally. It's his time. He's arrived, which means they're going to have to move on from this wonderful third baseman, Paul Shaw. So, where does Paul Shaw end up going? What team wants to deal? And what do the Royals want in return? Well, the Royals, on return, they feel that their offense is already stacked, particularly when you add Brett to this team. All the positions are set. They could use some pitchers, particularly a left-handed one. And they found a trade partner. They would find it indeed. And they found it amongst the California Anglers. California Angels said, we have to make room in our rotation. We have Clyde Wright, we have Dave LaRoche, excuse me. But they have to make room for Andy Hassler and Frank Tanana. That's too many lefties. So Clyde Wright will be traded for Paul Shaw. Paul Shaw comes in to play third base for a team that does not have a third baseman. Matter of fact, they don't have much of anything offensively. So they could certainly use Shaw to get on base on this team. You got a second baseman, a third baseman, Valentine's at short, and Parker's utility player. And these guys are outfielders. And Clyde Wright on Kansas City, look at that. He threads right in there between Heedlin and Nelson, plus they also picked up Marty Patton. So the rotation will be Heedlin, Wright, Nelson, and Marty Patton with Hinton and Bird in the bullpen to start. So pretty clever move for Kansas City. A 1-for-1 Shaw for Wright. All right, we'll do it in order and go the two twos, and then the three-player movement. So Arizona was in the market, and they were going to make a deal with Seattle. Seattle, they wanted to make room for Dave May in center field. So they, for Bill North to be drafted to them to play center field. Currently, they got Dave May, and he's an outstanding player. So he's the outstanding player they want to trade to make room for another one, Bill North. So they're going to trade individual players from the 3 years of 71 to 73. 71 Eulander, 71 Maxwell, or 72 Maxwell, and 73 Dave May. They'll leave Seattle, and Arizona is going to send 71 Felipe Alou to play with his brother Matty Alou in Seattle, Jerry Bell, a reliever in which Seattle doesn't have any, and Chris Arnold, a nice 300 hitting infielder that can play all over the place in a 3-for-3 deal. So now when you look at Seattle, first of all, let's put Jerry Bell on this pitching staff. A very strange pitching staff in that they have their entire rotation locked up. Lockwood, Klein, Norman, Dick Woodson. 4 starting pitchers, no relievers. Now they got one, Jerry Bell. And Jerry Bell's a nice long reliever, relief 4, starter 7, that won't be used. But that's a good way to start your bullpen with the most. Look at that, a relief 4, but he's outstanding, 165, so he's worth it. And Felipe Alou can play all over the place. Arnold is finally a good hitting infielder, where they had Dale Maxfield. Now they actually have a 296 hitting infielder on this team. And Philippe Alou, he can go in the outfield. And they could have a three-man outfield of Alou, the to-be-drafted Bill North, and Ron Woods. What does Arizona look like? Well, the big prize is Dave May. He instantly goes into their center field spot. You have a couple right-handers in there. Right? They have Ted Eulander, who could platoon with one of these right-hand hitting outfielders. And Dale Maxfield, a slick fielding shortstop on a team that didn't have any shortstops. They didn't have any infielders. They had Steve Braun. That was it. So now they got a slick fielding shortstop in Arizona. That was a nice move. 3-for-3 move. And there was one other move, just a 2-for-2 move, involving the Brewers and the Cubs. The Cubs are always looking for a left-handed bat on a right-handed dominant team. When you look at this Cub team, Dell Unser wasn't even theirs, but they got him. They'll have Billy Williams, of course. Even their pitchers are all right-handed. They just righty everything. Bullpen's all locked up, lefties and righties. So, the prize player was from Milwaukee. Was a left-handed hitting first base DH type, Don Mincher. He's who the Cubs wanted, and they also got a left-handed pitcher who can be a starter, Earl Stevenson. And the Cubs are going to get rid of one of those extra left-handed relievers they had, and Gary Jestad, who is actually a good hitting infielder at all positions against righties. So now you have Jestad getting a starting shot in the infield. You can move Fregosi to corner position, and Don Shaw goes to this Milwaukee staff, and he can immediately go to the bullpen. They have three starters, Colburn, Parsons, and Torres, but now they have Don Shaw in the bullpen as a lefty. And the Cubs, boy, they're happy. They'll have Don Mincher play first base with Beckert and Ron Santo, and they'll have Kessinger at short, Billy Williams in left. And now this this starting rotation needed a lefty to complement Fergie Jenkins, Bert Hooton, and Rick Russell. And this Earl Stevenson is a relief starter 7. That's good enough to slide into the 3 spot. And they still have one other lefty in the bullpen, Ray Newman, who takes Don Shaw's old spot. So those are the 3 hot stove trades. And I'll take a look at moving those cards in the 2560. Okay, this is a look at the 2560 after making some off-season trades. We knew that Frank Robinson was one of the first big trades, leaving Cleveland to go to Portland. And then when we look over on Cleveland's team, we will see that Jim Perry is there as a keeper now. And they also have in their shortstop list here, Fred Stanley's gone and Mark Belanger's in there. The corresponding player number from the year also is resorted, so that it's always 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 3, 4, so that everything has to match to reconcile before the trade starts. We could see the same thing in Portland. The proud keepers of, and to make him the first-round pick, Frank Robinson. So Frank Robinson is here. With his keeper cards there, but they also have Fred Stanley, who they acquired in Cleveland along with the tokens. So the big trades that were just made in this round, Arizona's new guys are here. Ted Eulander. They also picked up Dale Maxfield, and they also picked up Eulander, Maxfield, and Dave May, the prize of that trade. And of course Seattle, they have the correct alignment here. They picked up Philippe Alou. They also have his brother Matty Alou in a different year. But Chris Arnold is the 73 player. We know that Jerry Bell is the 72 player. And Felipe Alou was a 71 player in that deal. And then in the Kansas City and California trade, the 1-for-1 was pretty easy to do with Kansas City and California. In that you have Kansas City now has Clyde Wright should be here with Kansas City as a keeper. There he is. And California gets their third baseman. They finally have an infielder that can hit a little bit. And that would be Paul Shaw. And there he is in the middle of this team. Also wanted to show you an addendum to that Cubs trade. So the Cubs trade with the Brewers turned out to be a 3-player trade. After thinking about it more, Jose Cardinal and Don Briggs were offered. So the Cubs end up picking up another left-handed bat. They got left-handed bats Don Mincher and John Briggs, and they picked up the Earl Stevenson, the left-handed reliever. So hopefully this attempt for the Cubs to go from the left side might help them trying to catch up to Pittsburgh and St. Louis. Milwaukee, the final team we'll look at here. Here's Milwaukee. And so Jestad can be your starting shortstop. You have Robin Yount as a rookie. He could be your shortstop against lefties. Fregosi, you have the rights to. You can move him into the corner positions now, or DH, or even not even need him anymore since he's not really a good shortstop anyway. So Jestad provides a little insurance for Robin Yount. Plus you got Jose Cardinal in your outfield now in 72, and then Don Shaw you pick up as a lefty reliever. With nothing but righties on the team thus far. You know Parsons, they have the other starting pitcher Mike Torres and Jim Colburn. They needed a lefty reliever and now they got one. They traded a lefty starter to get a lefty reliever. So that's it from the 71-74 league. Getting close to draft time in March. We'll have a tournament of 1971 players before then. Thanks for checking out another hot stove. A hot stove with trades being made. We'll see you next time.